Good evening. I would like to call this Board of Education meeting of the Public Schools of Robeson County to order on April the 8th, 2025 at 6:02 p.m. Now we will have a moment of silence. Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance by Fremont High School JROTC.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we will have the adoption of the agenda. A motion being made by Mr. John Simmons to adopt the agenda. A second being made by Mr. Craig Lowry. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Yep, 10-0. All right, 9-0. 8-0. Hold up. Do we got Miss Melissa O'Shea and Mr. Henry on virtual yet? All right, we do have Mr. Henry Brewer on virtual and Miss Melissa O'Shea. She should be coming up shortly. So Mr. Henry Brewer is on is on virtual. All right, now we have the approval of the open session minutes. A motion has been made to approve the open session minutes by Mr. John Simmons. A second being made by Miss Crystal Monroe. All in favor say aye. All opposed? All right. Information items. North Carolina DPI beginning teacher monitoring technical assistance visit by Mr. Jamal Campbell.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, and members of the Public Schools Robeson County School Board. I'm here to provide an update on the recent Beginning Teacher Support Program technical visit conducted on March 21st by Dr. Casey Contry from NCDPI. This is a follow-up visit to inquire about updates we have made to improve our beginning teacher program and support. We have made several updates to ensure we are providing targeted support within our beginning teacher program. The updates and changes include: 1, our NESIS training. Human Resources has provided comprehensive training for principals and academic coaches and mentors. Number 2, monitoring system. A checkpoint list has been developed by Human Resources to continually monitor our NESIS progress. 3, communication. NESIS progress information is regularly shared with our principals quarterly. 4, mentor support. Academic coaches serving as mentors are reminded of NESIS progress in regular PLCs. 5, on-site monitoring. Human Resources have conducts visits to ensure beginning teachers receive proper instructional leadership team support. 6, district beginning teachers meetings. Monthly meetings are held to discuss topics of interest as recommended by BTs and prior surveys. And lastly, principal support. District level admin coaches engage in conversations with principals to support beginning teachers based on their needs and remind them of upcoming NISA's deadlines. These updates have enhanced our support for beginning teachers, demonstrating our commitment to their growth and development. We're witnessing progress in the training of our personnel and optimistic about the continued improvement. This visit also highlights the crucial role of the Human Resource Department in providing an additional layer of support within our schools. Our presence is not just to address issues, but to actively contribute to the development of our teaching staff. Our continued mission is to maintain and build upon these positive changes. We are dedicated to ensuring a skilled and thriving teacher workforce in Robeson County. By continuing to invest in our beginning teachers, we are securing a bright future for our students and our community. And I want to say thank you for your ongoing support and commitment to excellence in education.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Jamal? No? Thank you. All right. Next, we will have Distinguished American Indian High School Student by Dr. Connie Locklear. Yeah, the board members go up front.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members, and fellow guests. I am here tonight to recognize Mr. Roderick Dees Jr. He's a senior at Fairmont High School and an enrolled member of the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina. Roderick is an intelligent young man who has demonstrated academic excellence through his commitment to his schoolwork. He has been ranked #1 for all 4 years of his high school and many college and career promise classes in order to prepare him for college. He is a member of the Beta Club, the National Honor Society, and has made it to the final round of Gates. He just had his last interview Sunday night. He called me and said everything went well. So we're hoping he's going to get this scholarship. Academics is a part of Roderick's educational journey, but qualities such as determination, working well with others, leadership skills are demonstrated in his extracurricular activities on and off campus. He is an avid sportsman. He plays baseball, basketball, runs cross country, and has demonstrated his leadership capacity in serving as captain of the baseball and basketball teams. He has participated in the North Carolina Native American Youth Organization and serves as president of the Fairmont High School American Indian Student Association. He participates in the Public Schools of Robeson County Indian Education Program, and he currently serves on the PSRC Indian Education Parent Committee as a student representative. In November of 2024, he served as a North Carolina Governor's Page. He also volunteers in his community by helping those in need. He began by cutting his grandmother's grass, and when she passed, he wanted to continue that legacy and to honor her. So what he does is he cuts the grass of those in his community who are in need. Roderick is an exceptional student, but most importantly, he is an exceptional young man. There have been many obstacles in his way, and at times things have been difficult for his family. It would have been easy for him to give in to all the social factors that he had facing him, but instead he rose above them, and he's focused on becoming a positive role model. He is smart and athletic, yet humble and kind. At the North Carolina Unity Conference, Roderick was recognized as the North Carolina Distinguished American Indian High School Senior. He has a baseball game tonight, and his first thought was, I can't let my team down. So all of you sportsmen understand that. I asked his mother to come tonight. I don't know if she's here. Miss Christy Dees, are you here? But if not, his principal is here, Dr. Barton. This young man is Sometimes education can get tough, but he reminds us of why we do this work. I'm very proud of him. Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry, let's go back.
Now we have Battle of the Books by Miss Cindy Humphrey.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Williamson, board members, and cabinet. I'm here to present our 2024-2025 Battle of the Books winners. The goal of Battle of the Books is to encourage reading, teamwork, and critical thinking while making the experience fun and engaging for participants. The North Carolina School Library and Media Association sponsors competition at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Public Schools of Robeson County also sponsor a second and third grade competition. We are the only district in the state of North Carolina that does. We have our first place winners with us here tonight. Our second and third place winners' names will be called and their plaques will be presented at the school. First, we will start with our second and third grade winner, W.H. Knuckles Elementary. We have Haylana Hunt, Keziah Macaspack, Kamani McLeod, Kobe Pierce, Brandon Stanley, Maximus Wichton, Elijah Williams, Coach Angela Stevens, Taisha Dixon, Diva McLean, and Principal Dr. Steele. And I apologize in advance if I mess up names.
And don't go anywhere.
And if we have any parents here with W.H. Knuckles, please stand.
Congratulations. If you can give it to somebody in the house.
What you want?
That's nice too.
Any parents?
Congratulations.
Thank you, parents. Where you want them at to take a picture? In front?
Yeah, go over there where they can see all the prettiest.
Come on, Ms. Humphrey, you part of this too, come on.
Parents?
You gotta get it right there so your face can be seen.
Everybody in?
Got another pair?
Yeah, hold on one second.
You got another pair, hold on. Your babies. That's right, yeah, where you can be seen. You get there where they say you can be seen.
All right, once you do, let me be. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Knuckles. At this time, I will call the second place winners from East Robeson, and those plaques will be presented at the school. Daniela Diaz Aquino, Angel Garcia, Landry Hunt, Harrison Keaton, and Braylon Sampson, coaches Letitia Hunt, Christina Blackwater, principal Mr. Chad Brewer. And our third place winner was Tanglewood Elementary, Eleanor Bayanker, Oliver Hedgepeth, Solomon Khalifa, Muhammad Niley, Kay Pia, Kamari Stanley, Destiny Williams, Samuel Zabala, Coach Chris Cynthia Hammonds, and Principal Dr. Floyd. Now for our elementary level, our first place winner was L. Gilbert Carroll Middle School. Come on up, Carol. We have Liliana Coble, Lily Anna Coble, Justice Ingram, Priceland Jacobs, Brella McGlaney, Coach Aaron Hunt, Adrian Sinclair Davis, and Mr. Christopher Burton. At the elementary level, we will move on to the regional. So Carol Miller will represent our district at the regional competition on Thursday, April the 10th at Fayetteville Tech Community College. Let's give Carol Miller a hand. And if we have any parents, if you would, please come up. Any parents from Carol Middle?
Congratulations. Yeah. Tell the Lord thank you. I did. Not the banking world, but anywhere else. Enough just came to see me. Not about 90 students. It's financial literacy.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, look at me. Congratulations.
Thank you again, Carol Miller. And if you have some time on Thursday, please come out to Fayetteville Tech to support them. Our second place winner for elementary was Long Branch Elementary School. We had Colton Burnett, Kayliana Hunt, Kimbella Lane, Jackie Oxidine Jr., Riley Stead, Coach Amelia Schutzer, and Principal Dr. Leslie Harris. Our third place winner was Littlefield Middle School. Members were Kennedy Chavis, Lacey Lewis, David Luke McLean, Iman Richardson, Kinsley Rogers, Bruce Stars. Coaches were Courtney Chavis, Shandora Chavis, and Principal Mr. Kendall Hamilton. Now for our middle school division, our first place winner was Littlefield Middle School. We have Madison Chadwick, Allison Cruz, Brooke Flurry, Brooklyn Hunt, Bryceland Jones, Zariana Rogers, Coach Courtney Chavis, and Principal Mr. Kendall Hamilton. Littlefield represented our district last week during the regional competition hosted by our public schools of Robeson County, and they placed 4th out of 8. If we have any parents for Littlefield, please come up for a picture. Y'all get in front.
One, two, three. Congratulations.
And our second place winner for the middle school division was St. Paul's Middle School. Members were Giovanni Andrade, Nevaeh Batiste, Ariana Claudia, Audra McNair, Naomi Malika, Yanni Perduma, Lizzie Perez, Coach Jeannie Starkey, and Principal Miss Amanda Hastings. Our third place winner was Lumberton Junior High School. Jana Akabe, Brianna Badella, Carmen Mariah, Michelle Ortiz, and Brian Zacharies. Coach was Doshi Kirkwood, Jennifer Paul, and Principal Dr. Jermaine Watson. Now, for our first place winner, St. Paul's High School. And today, St. Paul's competed in the regional competition at West Columbus High School. I am proud to say St. Paul's placed first, and we will represent Sand Hills Region 4 in the state competition on April the 28th at Unity Center in Statesville, North Carolina. This is the first time we have had a team from Robeson County to represent at the state level. And those members are Braylon Finkley, Caitlin Flores, Katie Flores, Alexander Hernandez, James McCoy, Mia Lopez Reyna, Joseph Ramos Salas, and Jasmine Topia. Coach Bonnie Rogers and Tiffany Scott Hauser. Principal, Mr. Christopher Suggs. So let's give them a big round of applause. And if we have any parents here, please come up.
Harry, how'd you find that?
You appreciate it. There's a way.
There you go, that'll work. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations again, St. Paul's. Okay. I was there today and I was on scores. Of course, Mr. Suggs was sitting over there behind me. We was on our last round. I said, all we needed was 11 points to win. The kids started missing questions at the beginning. I said, y'all, we only need 11 points. And they pulled it off. So I am so happy. And I know Jason.
I just want to say something about that team. Those are great kids. I'm telling you right now, we work it out where they can go there in the library, they read. And if you've never been at a Battle of the Books competition, it ain't just reading a book. It's saying something like, in this book, little Jenny was walking down the street in the dark. That could be any book, but which one had little Jenny walking around the street in the dark with red shoes on or whatever? It goes to the detail they got to read and the time it takes. So I'm just telling you, anytime you get to go to a competition, please do it, because it's crazy just to see those kids and the answers they can. I mean, it's awesome. I don't say I know where to do it. I can't remember that much. So, but like I said, thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to recognize second and third place winners. Second place for Purnell Sweat High School, Melissa Casanova, Kirsten Dow, Maria Flores, Chloe Locklear, Constance Locklear, Lacoma Oxidine, Sheridan Oxidine, Coach Dwan Locklear, Principal Mr. Clyde Lavana. And our third place winner was the early colleges at RCC, John Murphy, Susan Ogden, Amy Ortiz, Ashley Felix Perez, Jaleesa Rodriguez, Salabas Shamika, and Jayla Wilkins, Coach Shanteen Jones, and Principal Andrew Davis. And I would like to thank everyone. Again, if you have time to come out on Thursday to Fayetteville Tech, come support Carroll Middle. And on April the 28th in Statesville, North Carolina at Unity Center, St. Paul's High School will represent Sand Hills Region and Public Schools of Robeson County. Thank you.
Let's give Ms. Humphrey a round of applause for the work that she put in for the Battle of the Books. I just want to thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, Battle of the Books. All right, now we will have the high levels of learning for all. Dr. Deborah Dallas.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Williamson, and board members. As our district continues its efforts to prepare all students for college and career readiness, we would like to share a document recently provided to our principals and counselors during our Career Center planning meeting. The High Levels for Learning for All document underscores the importance of collective responsibility in ensuring high levels of learning for every student, regardless of their background, learning pace, or prior knowledge. The focus is not on choosing between college or career readiness. It is about ensuring both for all students as part of a unified conversation. In the discussions with our principals and counselors, we identified key connections between the district's college and career readiness goals and access to rigorous coursework. There was a shared understanding that all students must have access to college and career readiness pathways by eliminating below grade level instructional tracks and foundational courses. This approach aligns with the district's emphasis on expanding dual enrollment, CCP opportunities, CTE programs, which all equip students for both post-secondary education and workforce demands. It also aligns with our approach to having our students take Math 1 in 8th grade and expanding course offerings through the North Carolina School of Science and Math. The document also highlights the importance of differentiated support based on individual student needs. Recognizing that students learn in different ways, schools must provide additional time and tailored assistance to help them meet rigorous expectations. Many students will require this extra time and support to succeed. Our team continued the conversation around our efforts to build these systems of support in our schools during the school day and how to build a failure is not an option culture. Ultimately, this document reflects our ongoing commitment to supporting all students in accessing challenging coursework. The district has an emphasis on creating career pathways and fostering advanced learning opportunities for all of our students. Our current 8th graders will now have a career development plan in place as they transition to high school. Our goal is to align their career interests to credentials, certificates, endorsements, college credits, and associate's degrees so our students are prepared for life beyond high school. We know that collaboration among staff and shared accountability are vital to ensuring every student achieves success. So the document that you have, it was our talking points with our group. So we hope that you read this and kind of realize this is really what we're working towards in our district. And the other day when we had our conversations with principals and counselors, it really cemented the work that we're doing here for all students. Questions?
Ms. Christie Fields?
So you talked a lot about junior high, high school. What are we doing K-6?
So when we look at that document, right, it really talks about K-12. It's that idea that all students need to get that extra support along the way so that we don't lose anyone. So we've
Right.
talked before, like in K-5, that we do those daily intervention blocks, right? We're making sure that we provide rigorous instruction to our students.
And how do you do that?
Well, first of all, our curriculum is very aligned, very applied, very rigorous. So that's our starting point, always starting with that core, that differentiated core. Then from there, when we have students who can accelerate or students that need some additional support, that's where our intervention block comes in. That's when we start really tailoring that instruction to our students.
So when you say tailoring, are you in the class tailoring? Or are you pulling them out of the
It's
class?
a little bit of both. It could be both, right? So it could be small group within the class. Sometimes we do it between classes and we might mix kids up based on one teacher might be addressing this standard, another teacher might be addressing that standard. So we try to keep that really flexible and dynamic for our teachers to kind of make it work for what they have to do. So it's a little bit of both.
And how are you relating that to the parents who feel like their child might be qualified for AIG?
So for AIG, it really comes down to whether they need that advanced learning. So when we look at our intervention block, there are kids that are going to need support, right? Because they're not meeting the standard. And then you're going to have kids that already knew the standard before we even taught it. So intervention is that time where you can actually ramp up your instruction. You can do some different things. You can do more advanced learning. That comes through in a AIG student's DEP, right? They have a plan that would show some of the things that we do with those students. Teachers would communicate that with teachers and parents as well. So mainly in the DEP is where your interventions for AIG students are documented.
And for the people who are listening, what's the DEP?
The developmental education plan. It's similar to like how our EC students have a plan, ML have a plan. This is the plan that we try to tailor for our AIG students.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, let me ask Dr. Clark, will you talk a minute about career readiness, what we're doing K-12 and how we differentiate between those grade spans, please?
So good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, and board members. So part of what we do when we look at career development, we are starting much earlier. So part of what we are doing with every grade level is we are starting that career exploration early on. So kindergarten through fifth grade right now, there's a lot of opportunities for students to learn about careers through our career days, different lessons that are incorporated in social studies. But then starting in fourth and fifth grade, which we just recently presented, we have Major Clarity that we're using, which is a career exploration website that allows students to explore many different jobs and find out what their interests are. So part of what we have to do with the state is also have a career development plan for every eighth grade student before they can leave eighth grade. And so in that, they actually take various assessments to determine what their interests are, what's a good fit for them to explore different pieces. And so every eighth grader now has a career development plan before they move on to the high school. And then when we think about 9th through 12th grade, they also have to in 10th grade revisit that plan because we know kids do sometimes change their mind once they explore and start taking more courses. This offers an opportunity to retake some of those assessments and then really get into revising that career development plan, but also looking at FAFSA pieces and all those other pieces that a student needs to determine what they want to do. So if they want to go and take college classes or if they want to take things to the Career Center, it helps us really look at that plan and say, this child really is interested in engineering. What classes do we have either through our courses, through CCP, through North Carolina School of Math and Science that we can help them explore that opportunity to widen and really allow them to see what is out there, because sometimes all they see is what they see in their community and they may only think about police, teachers, hospital, nurses. And so how do we provide them those opportunities to explore those different pieces? And so that career development plan lets us develop that. And now they can start in Major Clarity in fourth grade, starting to do those explorations. So they don't wait till eighth grade. So now they can explore many different careers as they move through each grade level so that by the time they graduate, they will have a much better idea of where they want to be. So we don't have students that end up that lost opportunity where they've gotten through the high school and just don't know what to do once high school ends.
Dr. Emmanuel?
She answered my question, so.
All right. Thank you. Next, we'll have ESSER 3 liquidation extension cancellation by Richard Swartz and Miss Erica Seltzer.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Dr. Williamson, and board members. I guess I'm gonna get started, Mr. Swartz, or did you want to go first? Okay, so we received communication. I received a communication on April the 1st through a newsletter, Ed and C, that had been sent out, that on March the 28th, Ms. Linda McMahon submitted information stating that as of March the 28th, the ESSER 3 extensions that had previously been approved by the U.S. Department of Education were no longer approved. We found that out Monday. We started investigating, okay, what does that mean? We sent everyone on the board an email with the letter that we received from Ms. McMahon at that time, and we've been working with DPI since then to gauge where we stand in those projects. When ESSER 3 was originally allotted to us, there was always a conversation about an extra extension of 14 months after the ending of those grants. We received 3 different allocations, ESSER 3, ESSER 2, GEAR funds. All of the states were able to and receive extensions for the other grants. However, the only one that was ever told to districts that we would have an extension or possibility of extension was ESSER 3. That was always clear. And like I say, we received communication on February the 21st from DPI that those extensions had been approved, so we were moving forward with the projects that we had in place. And we have brought before the board, those were finishing the 2 buildings at Purnell and St. Paul's High, window projects at the 3 schools we mentioned, Oxendine Elementary, St. Paul's Elementary, and Pembroke Elementary, as well as the completion of the HVAC project at Lumberton Senior High School. We received an email from Ms. Bennett today, actually at 5:09, detailing the next steps we have in place. We had to submit detailed information on those projects in November, and DPI has that, and they have 6 steps that they're going to provide directly to the Department of Education. And they have given us 2 pieces of information that include a description of how the extension is necessary to mitigate the effects of COVID, and a justification why the department should exercise its discretion to grant your request. Of course, we're going to work together with our attorney with DPI to get that information in and see where we stand.
So I want to give you a little bit of the legal aspect of this, and just how extremely unusual, unprecedented this action was by the U.S. Department of Education. So on Friday afternoon, March 28th, the U.S. Department of Education, the Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, sent out a letter. I believe it was sent out after 5 p.m., notifying chief state school officers, so the state superintendents and their equivalents in all 50 states, that the previously granted extensions for using ESSER 3 monies were revoked, effective at 5 p.m. on that day. There was no notice whatsoever, no indication whatsoever prior to this letter going out that that was under consideration, that that was a possibility. It was just completely out of the blue. A letter sent after the fact saying, as of right now, your authorization to use this funding, which had previously been approved by the U.S. Department of Education, is now revoked. And I want to give you a taste of how this letter read and what it said. It said, the Department of Education previously granted a discretionary extension of the period of liquidation. That is the time you can use up the funds. But the department has reconsidered your request. After careful review, and there's no indication that there was any review going on, the department is modifying the liquidation period to end on March 28, 2025. That is the date of the letter. The department has concluded that the further extension of the liquidation period for the aforementioned grants, already well past the period of performance, was not justified. You and your subrecipients, so this was going to the state agencies, so the subrecipients would be the local school systems, Robeson County being one of them. You and your subrecipients have had ample time to liquidate obligations. Indeed, the applicable regulation provided clear notice of the deadline for liquidating all financial obligations incurred no later than 120 calendar days after the conclusion of the period of performance. Well, that's just wrong, okay? The initial grant does include that, but there's something called the Tidings Amendment period that extends that period of time for these kinds of funds. And then beyond that, the department granted extensions in response to a request from a U.S. Senate committee asking them to allow extensions so that the funds could all be used and obligated. And then the Department of Education granted those requests. So it goes on to say, by failing to meet the clear deadline in the regulation, you ran the risk that the department would deny your extension request. Extending deadlines for COVID-related grants, which are in fact taxpayer funds years after the COVID pandemic ended, is not consistent with the department's priorities and thus not a worthwhile exercise of its discretion. Now, all of the funds for which extensions were granted to all of the states had to have been already under contract and obligation by September 30, 2024. And yours were. And all of the states that sent in requests for the extension had to submit information justifying the extension and showing that the funds were obligated and under contract by the original deadline of September 30, 2024. And there were a whole bunch of different reasons for not only your funds, but for all funds for all the school systems across the country that are involved. Things like supply side problems or finding mold or mildew or asbestos and having to delay performance of contracts until the summer months when students aren't around. Just all kinds of different reasons. And then the letter goes on to say, the department's initial approval of your extension request does not change anything. Well, it changes everything. It means that the funds that we had obligated, that we thought we had funds to spend, to approve to spend, that we did have approval to spend, we now can't complete those projects. But the letter just blithely says this extension, the original extension request doesn't change anything. The extension approval was issued recently, so any reliance interests developed are minimal. Well, they're not minimal. For Robeson County Schools, they're $14.6 million. So letter goes on to say, so you could not rely on the department adhering to its original decision. That is, the Department of Education sent you a guarantee saying you've got this extension, you can go ahead with your contracted obligations, and we'll provide the funds. But then this letter simply says, well, you can't rely on us to adhere to the original decision, which I find, quite frankly, mind-boggling. It goes on to say, this is especially true because the extension was a matter of administrative grace. Well, that ignores the fact that there's the Tidings Amendment and other provisions that went into the original approvals after requests were submitted and justifications for those requests were submitted and approved. Goes on to say you were entitled to the full award only if you liquidated all financial obligations within 120 days of the end of the period of performance. Again, that's not true. That's not correct. It says you failed to do so. Then it says any reliance on a discretionary extension by the Department of Education subject to reconsideration by the agency, which there's no grounds for reconsideration by the agency, was unreasonable. Accordingly, on reconsideration, the department amends the period of liquidation to end on March 28, 2025 at 5 p.m. There's so much wrong with this letter, legally, morally, ethically, that it's mind-boggling. Now, the department goes on to say in this letter, even though the time period has now ended because we decided in this letter that it ends at 5 p.m. on this day, the department will consider an extension of your liquidation period on a case-by-case basis. And to obtain an extension, you have to submit a statement explaining how a particular project's extension is necessary to mitigate the effects of COVID on American students and their education, and why the department should exercise its discretion to grant your request. Well, the department has already previously exercised its discretion and granted the request. One of the things that was in the legislation and that was in the request by the Senate committee that led to the further extension was that there be no burden on the school systems, no unreasonable burden on the school systems. Now what they're doing is saying, even though we already asked you to justify this one time around, you had to submit your request and we had to review it and approve it. We're asking you to do the same thing again. So there are a lot of moving parts here. So this was on Friday afternoon, March 28th. And you know, it went out after the fact and everybody's gone over the weekend, and all of a sudden people find this this went to the state, and then it trickled down to the LEAs, the school systems. And so I was on the phone with a whole lot of people. I'm sure Erica and Dr. Williamson were as well, trying to figure out what are we doing here? What's the impact on North Carolina? Well, it was initially thought that there were 5 school systems involved in North Carolina. It turns out there were 4. And of the 4, the biggest impact by far is on Robeson County Schools. We have $14.6 million of projects that were previously approved and under contract. Richmond County Schools has approximately 1.3 million. Halifax County Schools, 886,000, and Lenore County Schools, 252,000. So the impact on Robeson County Schools is enormous compared to everybody else. And this is going on all over the country now. So every state got this. There are billions of dollars at issue here. And so we were working to try to coordinate with the state on what's the response. And the State Board of Education had its regular monthly meeting scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday, April 3rd and 4th, the following week after this letter went out. I worked with some folks at the state board level and the attorney for the State Board of Education, Allison Schaefer, and the State Board of Education and State Superintendent Mo Green issued a letter to U.S. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon asking for reconsideration of this decision in this letter. One of the Kentucky sent in the first letter. They sent their letter in on April 1st. New York sent one in immediately thereafter, and North Carolina was the third state to send a letter in requesting reconsideration of this and citing some of the legal issues involved. Because the department said in its initial letter that they would consider on a case-by-case basis individual projects. So it's not just individual school systems, it's individual projects that are obligated for our $14.6 million, for example. So they're going to reconsider that on a case-by-case basis. The decision has been made that since the letter went out to the state and the states of the grant recipients were a subrecipient, that the state is going to respond on behalf of all the subrecipients, the 4 different school systems involved in North Carolina. And they're gathering information and have been gathering information since April 1st, I believe, was the first day they started gathering information. Is that correct?
That's great.
Yeah. The following Tuesday, after this letter went out, the state started gathering information. They're still gathering information, working through the Division of Business Affairs, school business, DPI School Business Services is collecting the financial information from the LAA finance officers, and the Federal Programs Office will submit the response for the state to the U.S. Department of Education. We probably have to go through that process in order to exhaust administrative remedies. But there are legal remedies beyond that if we don't get dispensation by going through this process. One of the arguments about going through this process is we already went through this process. They're asking us to resubmit the same information that was submitted with one additional twist to it, explaining how a particular project's extension is necessary to mitigate the effects of COVID on American students' education after the pandemic is over, supposedly over. I know 3 people got COVID in the past couple of days. So, but be that as it may, we've got to go through this process. We probably have to go through this process. There are conversations going on with different states' attorneys general to decide whether or not to sue on behalf of their states or whether a number of states will join in on that. That's a consideration here in North Carolina. But what North Carolina is going to do first is go through this process of a project-by-project appeal to see if we can get the funds restored that were previously promised and obligated. I just find it absolutely astounding that the Department of Education says you could not rely on the Department of Education adhering to its original decision with no change in facts or circumstances whatsoever. And one of the things that's cited in the letter from North Carolina is, I'll quote you something from the April 3 letter. It says, the school districts entered contracts and proceeded with approved projects in good faith and reliance on the commitment of funds and the extension of the liquidation period. They're now left with unpaid bills and unfinished projects because of your action to terminate immediately funds already promised. These are funds, and these weren't just promised, these were approved in writing. Goes on to say, these are some of the lowest wealth districts in our state. They will not be able to pay those bills or complete those projects without the promised federal funds. You indicate in your March 28 letter that the state should not have relied on representations made by the federal government to honor its previous commitments. This is a very troublesome position for you to take. North Carolina and its public schools rely on the federal government to honor its commitments in order to implement the programs we're legally required or authorized to provide. We rightfully did rely on the U.S. Department of Education representations regarding the extended liquidation period, and we believe you are legally obligated to honor these prior commitments. It goes on to cite some legal case law going back to 1983 in a U.S. Supreme Court decision. It says an agency may not reconsider a previous decision without any change in fact or law, citing Motor Vehicle MFRS Association versus State Farm, which is a U.S. Supreme Court decision from 1983. There has been no change in fact or law that would impact the provision of this liquidation period. Also, before your department may lawfully withhold these funds, due process, including prior notice and a hearing, must be provided. That's under the Administrative Procedures Act. That was not done either. So there are a whole lot of arguments, legal arguments, strong legal arguments against what the U.S. Department of Education has done. This is an unprecedented move by the federal government, by the U.S. Department of Education, it really came out of nowhere. It blindsided everybody. I was at the National Council of School Attorneys meeting in Atlanta on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, talking with fellow school attorneys from all over the country, and nobody had a clue this was coming. The Deputy General Counsel for the U.S. Department of Education was supposed to come speak to us on Friday, and he canceled last minute. My guess, I've known him for a long time. My guess is he didn't want to take the heat that he was going to be getting, or somebody at the Department of Education told him he couldn't come. I don't know. But this is an absolutely outside the box, incredible move by the Department of Education.
All right, Mr. Terry Lotley got a question.
I don't know where to start. It came as a surprise when I found out that they had cut this funding out. It was a surprise for about 2 seconds for me, and then I realized, okay, there's been a lot of unprecedented things going on lately. But I'm just trying to figure out did any other board member know that we were leveraged to the point of 14.6? I mean, Miss Erica probably told us that we had filed for an extension, but maybe that went over my head, that amount. There's only 4 districts in the state of North Carolina that are in this position, but 4 districts, 17 million, and 14.6 is Robeson counties. That's 85%. So how do we got 85% of the entire state's stake in this situation? So we're kind of hung out to dry. And if I'm a legislator, I'm looking and saying, well, we give them money and every school district in the state received it and they hadn't spent it. If I'm a contractor, I'm saying they had the ribbon cutting on these buildings January 25th, and now I'm waiting on my money. So Dr. Williamson, how in the world did we get to where we are?
Well, it probably went over your head because we shared all that information. Bobby, if you don't mind, talk about where we are on those.
Is there any
projects.
other board member that knew the situation that we were in, 85% of the entire state?
Erica, start with how much money did we receive?
For ESSER 3 alone, it was over $100 million, and all the districts spent the funds different ways. There are a lot of more wealthier districts that didn't have the HVAC needs and didn't have the other needs that we did. We followed every letter of the law that DPI sent out. We followed all the procedures. We met all the deadlines. And at the time, no, we didn't know what other systems were doing because we were concentrating on what we were doing. And we did everything according to what they asked us to do. And there are a lot of things that are embedded in those contracts. The HVAC, it took 58 weeks to get a custom chiller for Lumberton Senior High. It took, once they started the projects, they found other things that had to stop, and things like that can't be done when kids are in school. All of that's been documented. So we We did go over the dollar amounts. We went over when we did the extension, but we did not know how many other districts were affected at the time.
I appreciate you, Miss Erica.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members. So to touch base on the 3 projects that are remaining, the bulk of that money is remaining at Lumberton Senior High. And part of the rationales Mr. Erica has already touched on, a lot of the HVAC work that was needed to be completed in Lumberton Senior High could not be done while students were in the building. So therefore, a lot of the work, and the work is still continuing at night and over the summer months. Lumberton Senior High is probably the largest, oldest high school in the state. That HVAC unit piping that was in that building is the original piping from when the school was there in the mid to late 60s, early 70s. So with the addition of these funds, we tackled projects that we knew we could never touch again in this district without this funding. So what we decided to do at Lumberton Senior High, and this is a massive project there, is to convert that school from a 2-pipe system to a 4-pipe system, which means we have hot and cold water flowing at the same time to improve the efficiency within that building. Again, once we got into the ceiling, once we got into the work, there's asbestos. There were situations where it may have been mold. If you remember last year, we had a conversation where the entire ceiling and part of the building was removed so the work could be done. As Ms. Erica's already touched base, chiller for that was a 58-week lead time. To switch gears for that particular building was almost just as long. So again, we did not hesitate in moving forward with the work. Snyder Electric has been on site at Lumberton for at least 3 years now, completing this work. So again, the bulk of our HVAC work was completed at Lumberton Senior High to the tune of about $11 million is what we're going to have there once we're finished. And in terms of the other projects, all high schools got HVAC revamp work. Lumberton High just happened to be the largest project. Also, the windows we partnered with Snyder to do window replacement. So we chose the 3 schools that were in the worst condition. Again, replacing windows cannot be done while students are in the building. So again, there were a lot of moving parts as to where we're at in this timeline, but it has nothing to do with we were stalling or waiting. It was working with the contractors. It was equipment delay. It's the fact that we only have 2 months in the summer to do some of this work or to do a lot of this work. Holidays, weekends, Snyder's crews have been on site. If you've been by Lumberton High over the last 2 years, they're out there at night. They're out there over the holidays. They're out there on the weekends. So again, the massive amount of work that had to take place there is one of the reasons we're sitting here with asking for or requested the extension when it was first opened up.
So Bobby, also, because all of our buildings are so old that we can never go into those buildings and do any work that we don't have a problem with asbestos.
I'm sorry, and that is correct. Ran into asbestos abatement last summer, which delayed the progress of them moving through the building because they could not replace sections of pipe until they were able to remove the asbestos. 2 of our window projects were in the same boat we are right now. Oxenine has asbestos in the windows that we're going to replace. All of St. Paul's, we're going to have to go through asbestos abatement there as well. So again, it's not that we drug our foot. It is that a lot of this work could not be done while students were in the building and massive delay times. Because everybody across the United States, when they got this money, knew to invest it in HVAC because that was the highest need. That was our highest need, to a tune of over almost $25 million across the district. So again, there was just no way for us to anticipate being here.
Bobby, also, we want to make it clear for the public that even though there is asbestos in our buildings, it does not pose a risk for our students as long as we don't disturb it.
That is correct. And anytime we are working to abate that asbestos in the building, if individuals are in the building, those areas of the building are contained. But again, we do not attempt that work while students are in the building.
All right, Mr. Trey Britt.
I've got 4 things, I guess. Number 1 is transparency. I guess my thing is that I don't know of a better time. We should have probably called an emergency meeting. That way it was out ahead. Public schools hadn't even made a statement yet to the public. And my thing is it goes out to the internet. Next thing you know, it's spreading, and who gets the phone calls? I'm just going to be honest. Central office is not getting the phone calls. We're getting the phone calls. And I may think one thing, Dr. Manuel may think one thing, Crystal may think another, but it'd been better if we'd probably met last week as an emergency meeting. We'd all been on the same page. And if there'd ever been a time emergency meeting should have been called, I think this is it. Number two, I've got where it says in this email, we believe that the responses to these questions will have a significant impact on the decision to approve. Who's coming up with the answers to these two questions is my question for that part.
We're working together with the administration to help get that information into DPI, and then DPI will submit it to the state, to the U.S. government.
Are we going to see these statements ahead of time before they're actually submitted?
That's up to you.
Yes.
If you like to, sure.
Third question is on Miss Erica. Obviously, these contractors with the buildings that we've built at Purnell Sweat and St. Paul's are probably wanting their money. Where is the money coming from that we're paying, and what line items and things of that nature is that money coming from to pay those people?
That's going to be the next conversation we had once we finish with the questions here. It's going to come from capital outlay.
Okay.
But if I could, there is, so when all of that happened, the DPI let us know what had we encumbered or what could we show that was paid, invoiced prior to that. So currently there is $2.2 million owed to M Square. 1.1 of that we have paid out of capital that we should be included by the March 28th deadline for us to get reimbursed.
Are these contractors going to charge us interest?
No.
Okay. Fourth thing is,
Because some of those weren't billed until recently. We were not behind on any of the billing outside of that first 1.1 million. The remaining balance has not been invoiced yet.
okay. And then me looking at the cup, but a full cup. Let me ask this question. What are we going to do if we don't get approved for the money?
I mean, I wish I had an answer for that at this point. We'd have to go the legal route.
If
it's not approved.
Yeah, if it's not approved project by project, then the decision will have to be made at the state level, whether or not the state is going to pursue this. And then at the local level, if the state doesn't pursue it, we'd have to make a decision as to whether or not we would pursue legal redress.
So then we're spending more money.
Well, I think the state would be involved in making that decision. I think the Attorney General's office, the North Carolina Attorney General's office would be involved. And there are ongoing discussions now among different, there are individuals in the U.S., in the North Carolina Attorney General's office who are in communication with counterparts in other states about legal avenues to pursue based on this really unprecedented ruling. I mean, this is a yank the rug out from under you like nobody's ever seen before. We've granted you the extension. You can rely on the extension. You've got until March 28, 2026 to use this money. It's already obligated. You had to prove it was obligated. You had to submit it to the U.S. Department of Education and demonstrate that it was obligated and it was contracted for before you could get approval for the extension. We granted the extension, and then they sent a letter saying, well, you shouldn't have relied on that. And of course, everybody did. Everybody who's in the same boat as you all across the country relied on it. So I'm appalled. I mean, it's like legally, this is appalling. I think ethically, this is appalling. But this is just unprecedented. And I'm still flabbergasted at the way this was done and the arrogance with which it's been done.
All right, Dr. Wilson.
I do want to clarify why we did not call a special board meeting. We thought about that. We did meet with the finance chair and the construction chair, but the money was allocated to the state. So they had to take the lead and we had to follow. Richard, that's correct?
Yes, that is correct. And also I want to tell you that there were a lot of moving pieces and a lot of confusion when this came out. Because stop and think about this. We are at, Tuesday. This came out a week ago, Friday. Okay, Friday a week ago. March 28th, at the end of the day, okay? By Monday and Tuesday, we were communicating with the state to try to find out, okay, what does this mean? And on this appeal that they said we can do, is the state going to handle that? Are the localities going to handle that? What do the grants say? The grant went to the state. Does that mean the state has to appeal or we have to appeal? The state board is meeting on Wednesday and Thursday. Is there any way we can get the state board involved in dealing with this? So there were a lot of discussions going on. There were discussions going on between DPI and the North Carolina Department of Justice as to whether or not the first route would be to go, with an attempt to get into court, or whether we should try to exhaust the administrative remedies that are the quote unquote administrative remedies that are suggested in this letter. And so a lot of discussions going on, and okay, let's see what the state board is going to do. Is the state board going to take action? That may impact what we're going to do. In the meantime, business operations at DPI was collecting information from the various people involved. First thing they had to do was try to figure out what's at risk and how many school systems are we talking about and how much money. So they were just collecting information. So there were a lot of moving parts all last week, leading up to this. And, we're able to give you a lot more complete information now than anybody would have been able to give you last week. Last week, it would have been a whole lot of questions with a lot fewer answers. Now we at least know the process that we're going to have to go through, and there's a plan to collect the information, who's going to submit it, what information is going to be collected, what route we're going to take for the appeals coming from the state level on a project-by-project basis before any further legal action is considered. There are still a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of states that aren't anywhere near as far along as we are in trying to figure this out. North Carolina is trying to move ahead with a sense of urgency. We're kind of way ahead of the pack. It's Kentucky, New York, and North Carolina were the first three out of the gate on this.
All right,
There was also discussion when it first came out. There's 41 states impacted for over $2 billion. The state of Maryland alone has $418 million that they are looking, 300 of which has already been spent. So we are not by far the worst state in this group, but there are 41 different states for over $2 billion that are impacted by this decision.
It's close to $3 billion.
Closer to $3 billion.
all right. We're going to have Dr. Emmanuel. Then after that, we're going to have Mr. Henry Brewer, then Ms. Melissa Ocean. Both of them got their hand raised in that order.
Am I ready? I am simple-minded. So you're going to have to break some things down. I understand what the feds did, but what I'm not understanding is how it's going to impact us. Okay, Miss Erica said that she got the money out of capital outlay. Okay, what I want to know, $14 million is a lot of money. Did you get any money out of any other pot?
Let me clarify that. I did not get $14 million out of capital outlay. $14 million is the total of all the projects.
I understand that, but you said you got $2 million out of capital outlay.
That's
Now,
what we're
my
asking for
question to you
tonight.
is, Miss Erica,
Yes.
I know I hope, Lord, we get this money back tomorrow. But say we don't, and I read some negative media that it may be like FEMA, that it might be a long time getting it back, and we may get it back. Hopefully we do. But how is it going to adversely affect the public schools of Robeson County financially? Right now, Miss Erica, how are you going to operate with this $14 million deficit?
We can't operate with a 14. We don't have $14 million in capital outlay. If we took all of our local funds and capital outlay fund balance, we wouldn't have enough to cover $14 million.
So the $14 million we owe, is that just for buildings and everything? You didn't take any out of any other parts to pay anybody hoping for reimbursement?
No, only for the 2 buildings. That's the only amount that the district has spent. The other is part of contracts and encumbrances that were approved,
And
Bye.
to make sure I'm getting,
I need to make.
but has
getting
not been spent yet.
okay, let me make
Has
sure
not
I'm
been
getting, I
spent.
understand what that part. But you haven't paid up front hoping to get reimbursed.
No, no, ma'am.
Okay, so
All except for
except for what?
the two buildings. The two buildings for, at Lumberton, we have not paid $14 million. We paid out a total of 1.142 and need to pay an additional 1,071,000 for a total of 2.2 to finish those two buildings. That's the only thing that we're obligated at this point that we've been invoiced and we have to write checks for. Everything else is work that's pending, that has been, contracts have been awarded, and the materials have been ordered that we haven't paid yet.
Okay, so you paid 2.2 million hoping for reimbursement of
Correct.
our money, is that correct?
Correct. Not,
It was approved, but they.
when we
the
spent it,
lender
we had
didn't-
an approval. We were authorized to spend that money.
I understand, I'm not
Yes.
saying anybody did anything wrong.
Yes.
I'm just trying to say, where do we go from now to survive? In other words, right now, we can't survive paying $14 million.
Erica, if I may, please. So again, as Erica said, we only obligated 2.2 million of the 14 million.
Yes,
That's
sir.
all we have obligated. We want to pull those funds out of, because we have not yet, all of it, out of our capital reserve. So our capital reserve does not have an impact on our day-to-day operation. So your question, how will we continue to operate out of current expense money, not out of the capital reserve? So we won't see an impact in our day-to-day operations.
You answered my question. Thank you.
All right, now, Mr. Heron Brewer. See, huh?
Hear me?
Now we can.
Okay, first of all, I want to apologize for not being there face to face. But my question is now, how is this going to affect the CTE school?
It will not. Those monies are already secured and in place.
Yeah, the new technology high school, we have a needs-based grant that's a separate pot of funding for that is not included and can only be used for the school. We were awarded grant funds for the school. It won't be impacted at all.
Good.
And that's state money, so we can rely on it.
Right.
Oh, yeah, all right, Miss Melissa, Ocean.
Dr. Emanuel asked my question. I'm good.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Craig Lowry, I'm sorry. Turn your request on again, Mr. Craig.
What I'm going to ask or say is pretty much already been said, but I think it needs to be said again. This has never happened that I know of where you had money approved and then it gets taken away. And never happened that I know of in the school system. And these projects, since the money was there, if it's 14 million, 15 million, okay, the money is here, you're going to get the money, go ahead and do the projects. You got an extension until whatever date it is. That was what y'all were told. And then that's what that day, Mr. John and I came down here, that's what we were told. But we've been approving those extensions.
It
the whole
wasn't
time.
just told, it was in writing.
In writing too. But I'm saying that was communicated to us. All of that was done. And then all of a sudden on March 28th, they go yank the money away. And that's because of where we're at now. So I want the public to make sure they understand that we didn't go in debt like this, just like we're spending this money. We were told, and it was written, that the money is there to take care of these projects. And again, you mentioned that chiller at Lumberton. I think it was 58 days before it could come in or something.
Weeks.
58
weeks.
weeks, I'm sorry. So had to wait on that. And the asbestos, folks, we know if you go to any school in this county, probably you're going to find asbestos. And then when you start digging, cutting around windows and stuff, you can't, like you say, do that around with kids being there. So that's delayed where we're at now with all of that. I mean, it's just, yeah, I'm like Mr. Terry, you know, I mean, when I heard this and seen this, it's like, what have they done? They've just taken this money away. Never been done, and that's never had something done in the school system, and that's it, like that. It's just unprecedented. Now, where are we gonna find money if this doesn't take care of itself, or we get some help? You know, we don't know. And Mr. Schwartz, I was gonna ask you this question. I know it's probably one you can't answer, but any idea of a timeline? When, with what the state does or whatever? I mean, we talking years? We talking months?
You know, that's,
Any idea?
that's a great question, and there's no real answer for it. There was no timeline given for the reconsideration that the department said it would go through. There was no deadline to apply for a new extension included in the letter, but the Department of Public Instruction in North Carolina has said we want to move this forward with a sense of urgency. So they're trying to get all this information compiled and submitted very quickly. You know, once these appeals are filed, we have no idea how long the U.S. Department of Education is going to take to make decisions on them. If they want to drag their feet, they can drag their feet. Or they may, you know, start saying denied, 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 denied. We have no idea what they're going to do. Or they may start saying, okay, since you appealed it, we'll approve it because we didn't really have the authority to do this in the first place. But, you know, if nobody appeals it, then we'll save some money. I have no idea what they're going to do. This is, you know, uncharted waters in waters that didn't even exist, you know, prior to this crazy letter going out. You know, and then the next step is going to be somebody's going to take them to court. And that'll be probably a coordinated effort among various states attorneys general, because as you know, as Ms. Setzer told you, there are a lot of states involved. And some of them have a lot more money at stake than North Carolina does. So, you know, we'll wait and see what happens. I have no idea what the timeline is going to be. But you know, with every passing day, construction costs are going to go up, and you know, project costs are going to go up if we do get this money.
All right. Dr. Wilson?
Richard, you and I had a conversation earlier today, and the question was, what is the next step for this board and the district? So you and I talked about to draft letters to our congressional delegation to voice our concern.
Right. It's been, you know, there've been some, I've been in touch with a lot of people on this, and one of the things that's been suggested to me by several people is that the Department of Education might be responsive to political pressure from congressional delegations. So one of my suggestions for tonight is that the board take action to direct the superintendent and board attorney to draft a letter requesting support from our congressional delegation, the entire congressional delegation from the state on this.
All right. Mr. Bradley Phillips?
Miss Erica, out of the $11 million for the HVA system at Lumberton High School, has that already been paid, or are we paying that as we go, or?
We're paying it as we go. So the remaining balance for that is $7,526,000.
When's the next payment on that due? Do you have any idea off the top of your head?
No, sir. Because they've had to stop. They didn't plan on finishing that work until over the summer because they can't do it while the students are present.
The 2.2 million on the building funds, if we're able to take that from capital, do you know when the next payment, or will that complete?
That will complete it once.
Okay.
We have have paid 1.1. We owe $1,071,000. That gets us to the 2.2. So once we do that, the building will be complete.
All right. Mr. Terry, and this is the last thing we're going to have to move on. Mr. Terry?
Miss Erica, Mr. Bobby, the rest of the cabinet, Y'all do a wonderful job. I know your jobs are stressful. You only do what you're asked to do, and I appreciate you. I just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
And we did share with the board, since COVID came into effect, we've gotten multiple different PRCs. I think I shared with you, had allocated $173 million that the public schools has spent. We spent all the ESSERs. We followed all the guidelines. All those funds were zeroed out. We were always told we were going to have this extension, and we got approved for the extension. So we will not obligate funds that we didn't rely on the federal government allowing us to spend.
So, Mr. Chair, our action tonight and our request after this information is that we amend the agenda so that we can pull $2.2 million out of our capital reserve to pay the obligations that we have obligated ourselves to at this point. That would be the amendment for the agenda.
And we would still be requesting reimbursement under the previously approved ESSER 3 funds for that.
All right, Mr. Trey, then Mr. Terry. I'm sorry, I ain't turning on.
Dr. Williamson, question then, maybe this is Erica question. How much is in capital reserve?
We have
I
the
said, how
question
much
was how much
is
is
in
in
capital
capital
reserve?
reserves? So we have around 6 million if you include what we have in lottery projects that can only be used for certain.
And that
events.
is on hand.
Yes, in the bank.
Mr. Terry?
How would that impact the projects that we voted to approve in the last couple of months?
Right now, it won't have an impact because if nothing else, we should get this $2 million back because we met the deadlines or based on the way we did the journal entries of DPI. But we will have to monitor that as we go. At this point, we're moving forward. We already implemented, starting with the bleacher projects at Red Springs High. It could mean that some of the things that were on the alternative list we can't get to, but everything that was approved as far as the CTE audit, we should be able to move forward with because it's still, that was always anticipated to cross 2 budget years. Most of that coming up August and December being due. So we wanted to start some of those now.
Is that something that has to be done tonight? I mean, why can't we have a finance and construction subcommittee to discuss it a little bit more? Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, if I may, so the projects that were approved through the Finance Construction Committee were the 3 roofs. And again, all 3 of those are currently leaking. So if we delay those, we're just going to create more damage to the building. The other project is the bleachers. And again, that will overlap into next year, part of the CTE audit. And the additional project that we're only working on will be the 2 handicap spaces over at IEA to tie into the ramp that's currently been done. Other than that, the wish list of projects, those have been put on hold, and those are the only ones that we are addressing.
I'm not suggesting that we cancel anything.
Right. So the answer to Terry's question is those projects will be based on this year's allocation of capital funds. So we have not from county commission received this year's budget. So that money is a different part of money that we have yet to receive.
This is why I feel like we should have had a special call meeting, because it seems like every time there's something that we have to throw on the agenda at the last minute, 2 weeks from now, there's something going on where we probably should have did something a little bit different.
Mrs. Trey?
Question, Mr. Bobby, where does that stand with the OCR audit then?
So we are still, a lot of that work is being done in-house. The one major thing that we're addressing is the bleachers because they are in the worst shape. And again, as Miss Erica stated, we were going to spread that out over a couple of years. So we were not going to do all 3 sets of bleachers in 1 year.
But now the stuff that was due December end of this year,
Yes. So
we're going to be able to complete it.
Yes.
We'll start a new budget cycle July 1. So
Correct.
when I was just asked that question, I called it the CTE. I apologize, the OCR. It won't have an impact on anything that we approved at our last meeting. We can move forward with that.
All right. Mr. Henry? Unmute yourself, Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry, unmute yourself.
Okay. Is this something that we need to put county commissioners on alert, or is that just premature at this time?
In our discussions, I have already talked to the county manager. We have not moved it to the level of commissioners and the Board of Education because we still have other steps we have to follow before we can bring to them with final totals. But I have been in conversation with County Manager, Ms. Blue.
Thank you.
All right. Any other concerns or anything? Anybody want to move the action item to put the $2.2 million in the capital outlay fund? Mr. Craig?
Let me ask a couple of questions if I may. Ms. Erica, is it over 6 million we have in capital outlay now?
Correct, in the bank.
In the bank.
That's the fund balance.
That's the fund balance.
That's the
what-
fund
That's what
balance.
we have in there now, 6 million. We owe M
M Square.
what is it? What's the total we owe them?
We have paid them 1.142 and owe them a remaining $1,071,600.
And that's the one bill we have.
Correct.
It's to be due, okay?
And that would mean $2.2 million coming out of capital outlay.
Okay.
Two
So,
million, 213, 982.21 to be exact.
so if I ask the question, okay, we owe them that money. Suppose we say we're not paying right now because we don't have it. That puts us in a legal bind. Am I correct, Mr. Swartz? If we owe that money and say, well, we're not going to pay it right now, legally, we got problems.
Potentially, yes.
Potentially, if the money's owed. And again, I'm going back, all of this stuff was done and approved and written, that the money was there, you can spend the money, and then as they say, they yank it out from under.
Correct.
So I'm, Terry, I appreciate you saying, let's have a meeting about all this now, but I'm still looking at the fact with this year, this has got to be paid. Yeah, this part here has got to be paid, and that's where they were looking for action on that tonight. Now, if we want to have a meeting in the next week or so, finance construction, I'd be fine with that, but I do think we need to take care of this tonight because it's got to be paid. And it's going to, sooner or later, we've got to pay this bill here.
Correct.
And then hope that somebody in Washington gets a little sense in their head. I won't go any farther with that.
All right.
You need a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion. We want to move to action item, Mr. Craig.
I make a motion that we move the semester 3 money to action item for a vote concerning paying the bills for MC, is it MC?
M Square.
M Square.
Second.
Well, a motion's been on the table that we use our capital outlay money to pay
No,
capital
just-
outlay
just-
reserve.
Well, let's just move it to action first.
Move to action, yes.
Yeah.
A motion been made that we move to action, the capital outlay reserve to pay outstanding bill with M Square. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Can we go by hand vote? Because all in favor, let me hear you say aye.
Aye.
By the show of raise of hands.
Aye.
All right.
I'm for it.
Ms.
We have a vote
Ocean,
from Ms. Ocean?
unmute yourself, Melissa.
Ms. Ocean, are you muted?
No response. So we'll move this to,
That's 10-0.
yeah, 10-0.
Okay.
So we'll move this to action item right after sole source.
Let's do it first before we talk about someone.
All right, well, we'll do it first, and we'll move to action item first.
And again, that dollar amount is 2.2 million.
$2,213,982.21. And I'll bring that forward in a budget amendment at the next board meeting.
All right, Mr. Trey Brett, then we're gonna move on. I'm sorry.
I just need to clear my mind. Now, you said it's 2.2 million, but now we've already paid $1 million.
We've already paid $1,142,381.64.
Why do we need to pull that other $1 million out then with it? If you understand what I'm saying, why do we need to pull 2.2 out if we've already paid $1 million?
Because that amount meets the criteria to get reimbursed, and we're not sure about the additional $1 million. But either way, there's gonna be an impact to $2 million right now to capital. The 1.1 was paid out of capital and not ESSER. Ma'am? Correct. Correct. So capital will be $2.2 million. $1,071,600. Correct. Because it's a part of the budget, but if I'm going to do the budget amendments, I just wanted to do it as a complete picture. But that is correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Erica. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Now, next item on the agenda is IEA Center ESHPF grant update by Mr. Bobby Locklear.
Good evening again, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members. Wanted to take the opportunity to provide you an update on the IEA ESHPF grant, and that stands for Emergency Supplemental Historical Preservation Fund Grant. And Dr. Connie was responsible for writing this, I believe, approximately 4 years ago to do some work over at our IEA Center in response to damage that was received during the hurricane. So on January 21st of this school year, we had a monitoring visit with Dan Beaker, and he walked through the work that has been done over there and upcoming projects at the site. So he was pleased with the work that has been done and our record keeping. We did have to supply him with some additional documents that just needed to remain on site at IEA, and we have since done so. So there were several projects that were listed, or several needs in the scope of work that was originally placed in the grant writing, and that was to replace deteriorated mortar joints, to repair damaged brick masonry with replacing it in kind or whatever's necessary, to repair or replace wooden doors, and also to replace some of the windows within the building. So currently we have 2 projects that have not been completed over at IEA. One is the replacement of the doors, and that cost is $98,000. We're also, we're not replacing, we're actually building a handicap ramp so that individuals can access the building. That cost is going to be approximately $150,000. Part of our construction finance committee meeting, we did obligate approximately $15,000 to provide 2 handicap parking spaces over at IEA for access to the ramp. We will be able, based upon, I spoke with Jason Bullard today, we will be able to modify the front entrance so that we can secure it just like we do our other schools, so that the building does not stay open at all times. But again, just wanted to provide you an update on the progress of that work and the funding that's being spent.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Thank you.
Next, we have public comments, and we have one, and Mr. Marvin Ray. You will have, Supervisor, you will have 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Marvin Ray, and I'm speaking on behalf of the people that use the community garden in St. Paul's. If you can imagine a place where people share a space to fellowship and volunteer, where people can rent a raised bed inexpensively and grow whatever makes them happy, whether it's herbs or flowers or food, where people can experience healing by creating a memorial bed to a loved one, where once a year, the community can gather for an event and show the community the garden, where people can buy, sell, or swap plants or seeds, where master gardeners and extension agents come and answer questions about gardening. A beautiful place, a peaceful place with seasonal flowers, a pergola, a garden tower, a fountain with the sound of water, and a charming shed with a porch to sit under. St. Paul's area residents don't have to imagine. This is the St. Paul's Community Garden and so much more. The community garden started 9 years ago from a grant. It was a partnership between a group of interested citizens, St. Paul's High School, the FFA of the school, and the town of St. Paul's. The high school ag science class built and installed all the raised beds. There are 34 raised beds that we rent, and last year, due to our growth and use from the community, every bed was rented. Our fruit trees planted years ago are growing and just starting to be productive. Last year, the St. Paul's High School principal contacted me and said the school needed the property for a game soccer field and the garden would have to go. I contacted a board member and asked if a new soccer field had been approved by the board and was told not at this time. From our garden shed is 250 yards to the new field house. And from the shed to 301 is over 100 yards. So there's a lot of room out there. Those of us maintaining the garden would like for any future plans to consider the garden. The garden is an asset to the town and the school. The garden could downsize or change shape, but the garden, if we have to move, it will cease to exist. Please take a look at the garden before you decide to do away with it. Ask your county ag and horticulture teachers if they had a nice community garden on their campus, one that someone else maintained, would they use it in their curriculum? We think they would.
Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you for your consideration. I've got a bulletin, a brochure. Can I pass out brochures?
Yes, this part passing right here, and we'll pass them down. Thank you, sir. Now we move to action items. And the first on the action item is to take the capital outlay reserve fund to pay M Square in the tune of $2.2 million. Mr. Craig Lai.
I make a motion that we use capital outlay funds to pay M Square $2.2 million.
The reserve fund.
In reserve fund.
Second.
All right, a motion been on the table to take the capital outlay reserve fund to pay M Square in the tune of $2.2 million by Mr. Craig Lowry. A second been made by Mr. Henry Brewer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's good. Yeah, 10-0.
Yeah, you want to ask Ms. Ocean?
Ms. Melissa, Ms. Ocean? Unmute yourself. Let's go with 10-0. All right. Next on our
under this, excuse me, under this item, do you also want to take action to direct the superintendent and the board attorney to contact our congressional delegation regarding these this ESSER fund withdrawal?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we give them the leniency, the direction to take care of that.
all right. Mr. Henry made a motion that we give permission for the superintendent and our attorney. All in favor?
To contact
Contact.
congressional delegation and federal officials regarding the withdrawal of these ESSER funds. Is that the motion, Mr. Brewer?
Yes.
All right, the motion been on the table, Mr. Henry. They give our attorney and Dr. Williamson to contact the congressional
Delegation and federal
delegations
officials.
and federal officials about our ESSER funds, our reimbursement. And the second will be made by Mr. Craig Lyra. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, got it.
All right. Next, we'll have the summer testing by Miss Cynthia Lewis.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Williams, Dr. Williamson, and board members. It seems like the last 2 weeks has just been one surprise after another. In the testing department, we've had multiple changes and updates in the past 2 weeks. And I'm sure that a couple of you may be surprised to see a school year readministration plan in your packet when we've already approved a summer test plan. On April 2nd, NCDPI shared with us a new opportunity for the current year for our students in regards to EOC and EOG testing in reading and math this year. Tonight, we're presenting that new plan to you for the school year readministration of EOGs in reading and math. That would, of course, be reading 4 through 8 and math grades 3 through 8. The district curriculum team met on April 3rd with principals to get some input from them. And they agreed, or the K-8 schools agreed that we should move forward to administering our summer test plan as a readministration during the school year on the 4th and 5th of June. So if you approve the new plan that you have in your packet, our students will actually test during the last 10 days of the school year, in addition to taking the regular administration. So they'll take the regular administration and then they will be re-administered the math grades 3-8 and reading grade 4-8 EOG test. High schools decided to remain with the summer plan that you've already have in place, and they will test on June 19th and 20th.
All right, Mr. Henry.
Ms. Lewis, my question would be, what is the subtle change in reference to what we had before?
So before, they were not allowed, our kids have never been allowed, well, I won't say never. Since I've been in testing, the kids have never been able to test during the school year. We've always been required to test after the school year ended. Hence, we remediated during the summer work days and tested during the work days.
Mr. Craig. Then we got Dr. Emmanuel, Mr. Craig, then we got Dr. Emmanuel.
Ms. Lewis, with the EOG testing with the K-8, on that retest, how is it counted? Can it help improve the scores at the school? Which one?
It does help proficiency.
Proficiency.
It does not help growth.
Okay.
So
it helps.
again, it works just like the summer program testing. It would help our proficiency, but not our growth.
Well, but with the fact that you're asking to do it while we're still in school.
Yes, sir.
That's good, because sometimes we lose a lot of the kids. Once they go home, they don't come back to take the test. So that's what you're asking that. I definitely think we should go along with doing that.
Thank you.
Dr. Emmanuel.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to approve the amended summer testing calendar.
All right, a motion been on the table by Dr. Emmanuel that we approve the amended testing calendar for our EOG. A second been made by Mr. Trey Britt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye. I'm for it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. All right, next we have AIG plan by Dr. Deborah Dallas and Ms. Valerie Hammond.
Good evening. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, may I say something?
Yes, yes, you can. You can.
And anyone can add to this. I've reviewed it and it meets all the specifications. It's a great plan. Anybody can add anything they want to. But I would like for them to talk about inclusion. What does it mean when we say we're using inclusion with our AIG plan? Now, you can say anything you like about your plan, but talk to us about inclusion. That's the model that you all use to present the AIG services to children.
Right. So in K2, with our talent development, we do pull out.
Yeah.
Sometimes in third grade, we do pull out. It depends on whether they are departmentalized or not. So inclusion was when an AIG specialist pushes into the classroom. So we ask our principals to try to cluster some of our AIG students together in a room, right? So that way, when they're doing their service delivery, they would push in and they would be able to work with that group of kids. Sometimes it's more one teach, one assist. Sometimes it's more small group. Sometimes it's just checking in. So it's very similar to the EC inclusion model, right? There's different ways that you can do that. So that's what they're doing is they're pushing in. And a lot of times, Dr. Manuel, they're giving the teacher ideas and strategies, right? It's hard. They have almost, I think up to this point, 1,444 students, right? So when we cluster them, it's the most efficient way. But when they go in, they do have to be strategic on how they're giving those supports.
May I do a follow-up?
Follow up.
What about high schoolers? How is that done?
So high schoolers are really, their services are more because of their advanced learning courses that they're able to take. So they're taking honors courses, they're taking their CCP courses, their college courses. So a lot of the high school work there is more consultation. They're pushing in, they're monitoring because they're already receiving that differentiated instruction or that advanced learning because of the courses that they're taking. So it looks different, a little different at the high school than it does at the middle school.
So in summary, too, they receive services through basically pull out.
Yes.
And up through the 8th grade, that it's inclusion like, or.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and then high school advanced placement.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, as I said, I looked through it and I'm sure most of you have as well, but it's a well-written plan and unless you want them to read all of it and go through it.
Can I just say, this is our AIG team. These ladies
Will you
are
introduce
phenomenal.
those
I
ladies?
do. Can I introduce them?
Please introduce those ladies.
I would like to. That's why I've asked them
go
to be here.
for it.
They are a phenomenal group of
And
educators.
they're beautiful ladies
They
as
are.
well.
And they're hardworking there, Dr.
Will you
Emanuel, very
introduce those
hardworking.
ladies?
So I've asked them, I've prompted them that I'm going to call their name and I'm going to ask them to stand because I'm very
Please.
proud of the work that they're
Yes.
doing in this plan. So Margie Emanuel.
She has the
Val-
right last name.
Excellent. Valerie Hammond, Kimberly Jacobs, Shirley Johnson, Karen Johnson, April Maynor, Bobby Joe McLean, Lucinda Oxendine, Holly Walton, and Tammy Wilkerson. And like I said, PSRC is extremely fortunate to have these ladies on board. They are champions of our
Can we give them a
AIG
hand?
students. They are.
Good job.
Thank you, ladies.
Are there any questions?
No, I just got one comment. Miss Tammy Wilkerson I was her first class in the 3rd grade. She was my teacher. I was first class down there. No, in 6th grade down at Rolling Middle School. So I was
And
her
Miss Tammy, I
first
know
grade.
we talked a lot, didn't
There's got to
Chair.
be some stories there.
we? He did.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. Go ahead, Mr. Henry.
I think this will be a great improvement for our system because we're already doing inclusion with the EC departments. And from what I've heard, as long as teachers get training, it's awesome.
Yeah. Miss Tammy wanted to
She can say something. Yes, Miss Tammy can say
Go ahead,
something.
Miss Tammy. Go to the mic because they can't hear you.
Come on up, Tammy.
Go to the mic because they can't hear you.
Many moves ago.
No, that was my first class, and every time I would see Vontae, Mr. Leach, I would say, please forgive me. Just forgive me, please. But he was very gracious, and I always told Vontae, and he can remember this. I said, Vontae, you're going to go somewhere, and when you do, don't forget me.
Thank you.
And he did, and I still can see him doing that thing on the field, going, making those snow angels. I said, that's my Vontae.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Isn't that sweet?
So-
Vontae, you can pay her later. Thank you so much, ladies. I make a motion that we approve the AIG plan.
Motion being on the table by Dr. Emmanuel that we approve the AIG plan, and second being made by Mr. Crystal Monroe. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? 10 to no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we had the RCC and PSRC MOU by Dr. Wendy Dorsey Carr.
So tonight, we're seeking approval of our RCC PSRC MOU. Every year, we get together with RCC to develop a new MOU that focuses on how we support our students taking CCP courses. And so these are the courses that we take where our students go to RCC campus, or they take some of those through at the Career Center. So, I'm sorry, just jumping ahead.
Hold up, Mr. Hold up for a second, Mr. Craig Lowry.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Chairman Leach, I make a motion that we accept this memorandum of agreement between RCC and PSRC.
A motion being on the table by Mr. Craig Lowry, that we accept this agreement between PSRC and RCC. The second being made by Dr. Lenny Manuel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 0. Thank you. Next, we will have the naming of the track, the David Shaw track by St. Paul's High School. Gotcha. By Mr. Glenn Patterson, I got you.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Superintendent Dr. Williamson, and board members. A formal written request was made by a community group to Jason Suggs, principal of St. Paul's High School, proposing that the track be named in honor of former St. Paul's High School track coach David Shaw. The request was approved for St. Paul's to move forward to host a forum. Mr. Suggs put the information on St. Paul's website. He also used the Thrill Share robocall system to inform the parents and students 5 days prior to the forum. The forum was held on March the 6th, 2025 at St. Paul's High School cafeteria. There were several people in attendance. Everyone in attendance agreed that we should move forward with this proposal. At this time, Principal Suggs and the community has fulfilled all the necessary steps to move forward with naming St. Paul's High School track in honor of former head track coach David Shaw. Now, each of you should have received this proposal in your packet. So on tonight, and at this time, I'm asking that we move forward with this proposal, and I will turn it back over to Chairman Leach and the board for a decision.
Ms. Crystal Monroe got a question?
I just wanted to approve the name of the David Shaw track for St. Paul's High School.
Second.
All right, a motion been made by Ms. Crystal Monroe to approve the name of the track to the David Shaw track at St. Paul's High School. A second been made by Ms. Dr. Linda Emmanuel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, now that vote was 10-0 in favor of naming the track. All right. Move right along. Now the 2025-2026 high school calendar by Mr. Bobby Locklear.
Good evening, Chairman Leach, Dr. Williamson, board members. I placed in your packet a proposed high school calendar based upon our last couple of meetings. This is the calendar that I believe was brought forth by Mr. Terry Locklear, and I just placed those dates that were in that calendar on our template.
Mr. Terry,
I'm going to make a motion that we use the calendar that was proposed by board member Locklear. I'm going to make a motion that we apply that calendar for grades K through 12.
so we already did voted on, wait a minute, we already did voted on the elementary calendar. This just the high school calendar. We can't go back and vote on the elementary calendar unless somebody who voted on the elementary calendar changed their mind.
Mr. Schwartz, what is your legal guidance on that? Can we modify a vote that we voted on last month?
You need a motion to reconsider that?
I would like to make a motion to reconsider the vote that was brought forth last month. So I have to have always looking at it.
Yeah, second and the 2/3, but don't you have to have somebody who voted against it to break it
Yes.
up?
Yep.
You got to have somebody that voted against, that voted for it to change their vote.
Mr. Richards.
Mr. Craig, you got this discussion or anything, Mr. Craig? Then we got Dr. Manning, then Mr. Trey Brett. Hold on. Go ahead.
On now. Mr. Terry, so I might didn't hear part of what you said. The calendar that's in our packet, you're asking that we vote on this for K-12.
I am.
Okay, I want to make sure that was clear. And as you said, we voted on the K-8 calendar last month. Now, and I think Mr. Schwartz is looking it up, but now my understanding, to change something off of that, it usually has to be somebody that voted against it to make a motion to change it.
That voted for it.
For it, I'm sorry.
That voted for it to make the change.
Make a change.
Dr. Manning, then we got Mr. Trey Brett.
Okay, let me say something. This calendar, Mr. Bobby, that you just presented us, are the semesters even?
No, ma'am.
All right. It's my understanding there's a law now pending. It's saying that we've got to make the semesters even. Did I misunderstand that?
So, Mr. Chair, there is a current bill that is in the House that would require it, that if you follow that modified or that particular calendar law, then both semesters must be equal.
Okay, well, my thing is, but they're also moving the starting date.
That is correct. The current version of the law, I do not have the exact date, but would move this up 5 days and would require us to end prior to Memorial Day.
So,
I'm sorry, but
go ahead.
both semesters must be equal if you follow that version of the calendar law.
Mr. Lawyer's he's involved in something right now. So how in the world can we sit here and vote something that's going to be against the law? Because I feel like just hearing legislators talk that they're going to vote for it with it. I think it's tomorrow.
If it's against the law, Mr. Schwartz, let us know.
Hold on a second.
No, wait a minute. He's doing something. But we sitting here, why in the world would we vote for something and tomorrow there's going to be a decision?
Well, let's vote to table the calendar altogether.
That's an option.
Mr. Trey, make a statement.
But I'll wait for the lawyer and the superintendent. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Forgive me.
so I'm sorry. What you need is a motion to rescind the previously adopted calendar. And since no notice was given, of the intent to make this motion in advance, it requires a 2/3 vote or a vote of the entire membership of the body, which would be majority vote of the entire membership. So it'd be 6 votes of the entire membership, or a 2/3 vote of what we've got here, which is would be 7. So first, you need a motion to rescind the previously adopted calendar, and that would require a second.
Mr. Trey,
I
then we
just
can vote.
want to make a statement. I know we don't have the other calendar in front of us, but I will compare the two since our last time or whatever. And I like the calendar that Terry presented. This is my personal opinion. Now, I just don't think it's fair with the calendar that we approved, which I know it's already been approved, K-8, which takes a whole lot more preparation as far as classrooms and everything else, that we gave those teachers 2 work days ahead before children are coming, I think 2 or 3, Mr. Bobby?
The other proposed calendar would have 5 teacher workdays.
There's 5 teacher work days.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I looked at it wrong then, but, and then this one here, you've got 2 weeks. I don't like that part of it, because I don't think that's fair, but.
Mr. John? Mr. Simmons?
It's for Dr. Williams or Mr. Bobby. This calendar here is basically favors the Cumberland County's calendar. They're on a different bill system. Are we going to change to their bill system also, being that we're going to their calendar?
That's up to the school, right?
No, not really. It is going to create a major transportation issue for us because many of our buses run multiple routes. So that's going to be a problem. It could change bail systems, which means not only would we penalize employees 10 days of salary, it's going to impact parents too, in terms of having to be home with kids, changing the bail schedule, so there's a lot of negative impact to that. And then to answer the other question, Bobby, we have a requirement by law that by April 1, we have to send to the state board our beginning day and ending day. So we're already behind in that statutory requirement. correct?
I'm sorry, Dr. Williamson, but yes, that is correct. By not having a solid calendar, our transition to Infinite Campus has been delayed. So I would say to address tabling this would only delay that process, and we've been able to receive 1 extension. I'm not sure that our implementation team will allow us to delay this any further.
Trey, didn't you ask him the last time when we had to? Okay, I thought you did. Maybe that, well, okay.
Dr. Dr. Emmanuel?
The lawyer was busy a while ago. I need to ask him something. All right. We're voting tonight about a decision on the calendar. When do you think the legislature will meet about this new calendar law? Have you heard when they're going to meet to vote?
There's a committee meeting tomorrow, I believe, in the Senate.
Okay.
On the Senate bill, which would allow a 1 week earlier start as long as you get out by Memorial Day. That legislation may or may not pass the General Assembly this year. It also has a lot of penalties involved if the board does anything outside of what's allowed in the law. And this calendar this calendar complies with the current calendar law.
That calendar you're looking at now?
The one that's been presented does comply with the
The
current calendar.
semesters are not even though.
But what about
It would not comply with the new legislation
Okay, it wouldn't comply
if that
with-
legislation passes, but it does comply with the existing calendar law
Okay, but not the new one if it passed, let's say.
if it passes.
What would happen if we adopted that one, not complying? What's
We'd have to come back and go for something different that would comply with that new
Wow.
calendar law. If it passes.
All right, Mr. Terry? You got your, I thought your mic was on. I thought you had something to say. All right.
You do not have a motion pending right now.
No.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Henry?
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you recognized my hand or not. Got a question for Mr. Schwartz. Being the situation we're in with the federal government, and now a lot of it's reverting back to the state, do you think they would give us an extension until a decision is made in the Senate?
Extending on the start date of the start and finish date of our school.
But I understand that we have and correct me if I'm wrong, we can manipulate 5 days as long as we in accordance with coordinating with the state and keeping our ground.
I'm not sure what the question is. I'm not following the question.
The federal government has caused us a miraculous change right now. So with that, and it reverting back from the federal government to the state legislators, do you think we can get an extension on letting them know what our schedule will be?
This has nothing to do with the federal government at all. Federal government's not involved in setting the school calendar.
Mr. Chair, may I offer clarification for
Yes,
that?
go ahead.
So we've shared with you, I think, a couple of board meetings ago that we are in transition from Power School to Infinite Campus. One of the details that must be entered into Infinite Campus so that that conversion can continue to take place is a beginning and end date for our schools. That was due April the 1st. We have missed that deadline. We have asked our implementation team to bear with us until after tonight's meeting. And they have worked with Miss Angela and her team. I cannot guarantee that our implementation team will work with us anymore. And if we do not get a calendar date in Infinite Campus, that will almost stop our conversion.
All right, Miss Melissa Ocean got her hand up, then we're going back to you, Mr. Terry. Melissa? Unmute yourself.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so it appears like our indecisiveness is causing a lot of issues. We are at the point now where this has been delayed for months, and I personally feel like it's time to make a decision. With the new legislation that's coming to pass and reading that information that was shared, there's some very strict ramifications for board members if they are outside of that policy, which, we'll know more about that tomorrow. But they can totally disband a board for not following, for not following in line and following these guidelines. I think it would just be remiss to put this new calendar in play. First off, it's not fair. Have to come back again. I'm at this point, I'm tired of discussing the calendar. This has been an ongoing thing for the last 3 meetings. We need to make a choice and stick by it. The calendar that we've been using has worked. It doesn't have anybody missing out on any money. It's not causing a disruption to our transportation. And it's basically right now what's in the best interest of our kids. We are looking basically in what adults think instead of in what's in the best interest of our children. So, and to cause them a total disruption, they're on the schedule different than their siblings is too much.
All right, Mr. Terry.
So I would have to make a substitute motion, or what kind of motion did you say, Mr. Schwartz?
There's currently no motion pending on this issue.
To vote on making it K-12.
If you wanted to revoke the previous action, you'd have to have a motion to rescind the previously adopted K-8 calendar before we could change this.
And the reason I'm trying to get us on one calendar is because it would cause a lot of issues, I think, with transportation. So I'm going to make a motion to rescind the previous action.
Somebody that voted for it got to do that, right?
Yeah.
Somebody that voted for it.
I voted for it. I voted for the K-8
Okay.
calendar. It was unanimous.
Okay. Dr. Emmanuel.
You need to find out if there's a second on that motion.
Yeah, is there a second? Anybody?
All right, a second by, motion been on the table by Mr. Terry Locklear to approve.
Rescind the previously adopted.
Rescind the previously adopted K-8
Calendar.
K-8 calendar, and the second being made by Ms. Christie. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? No.
Need a
We
show
go
of
by
hands.
the show of hands. All right, we need a show of hands vote. All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand, raise your right hand. All in favor. Rescinding the first motion of the K-8 calendar that we voted on last meeting. Yeah, we got to see if we're gonna rescind this first.
The motion,
Rescind the previous calendar, K-8.
the votes need to show of hands.
Yeah, we're trying to get all the calendar stuff together, but we. Discussion, Ms. Discussion by, put your mic on, Dr. Linda, Emmanuel, Dr. Emmanuel.
Okay, Ms. Lawyer, wouldn't it be clear if this calendar right here is to let us propose both calendars? Because this is not the one that I'm going to vote for. This is the one where the semesters are not even. We need to bring, I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, we need to bring the other one up as well, because there's another one that some of us are going to vote for that where the semesters are even. You see that you're only presenting one here. We have one option in front of us. And you see, there's another one going to come that where some of us will vote for another one. This is the one where they get out early for Christmas and the semesters are not even. Okay, the one that Bobby and the cabinet presented before is where the semesters are even. So what is it? You always stacking the deck against us, just showing us this one.
We're voting to
I'm not showing anything.
I know you're not, but somebody's staking the deck.
We're voting to rescind the previous vote where we can vote on. a
Okay,
new
I know
calendar.
that. But you see what you just said? You said you're voting to rescind the vote. I understand that. So you can vote for this one.
So we can vote on the new one.
Exactly. What about when are we going to vote, get a chance to vote on the other one as well?
You can make a substitute motion. There's a substitute motion when you make the motion, somebody can make a substitute motion, vote on another calendar that you want.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you just say we're going to do away with the K-8, I understand that. And then everybody's going to vote for this, but no, that's not how it works. We got to give me a chance to make a substitute motion or show another calendar. Because I want to vote for the one where the semesters are balanced, meaning they won't get out for Christmas. You understand what I mean? Before Christmas, unless the law changes something. Because that's stacking the deck doing it like that.
But that's probably on us. We didn't put the K-8 calendar back in the board package because depending on your vote, then the request would be the K-8 calendar that we will have just two calendars, early college, and then the K-12
Yes,
calendar.
exactly.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mr. Trey, you got it. Mr. Craig, then Mr. Travis. Got Mr. Craig was up here first, then you, Trey.
I might have should have cut it off here. I sit here so long. Go ahead to someone else and let me
All right,
take a minute.
Mr. Trey Britt.
I'm just gonna be honest, Dr. Manuel, it was voted on twice and it didn't get approved. The calendar that you're talking about that's not in this stack, that it was not put in here, it got voted on twice and it didn't get approved.
All right, a motion is on the table and it's been seconded by Ms. Christie Fields to rescind the previous calendar voted on for K-8.
Correct.
Now, let's go by the show of the hands. Who in favor of this? To rescind the K-8 calendar by the show of hands.
The ayes.
I need everybody to show of hands.
The ayes, call for the ayes.
Yeah.
If you're in favor of the motion to rescind the previously adopted KA calendar, please show your hands so we can record the vote. No, the motion is simply to rescind the previously
Yeah.
adopted KA calendar. That's the current motion.
That's the current motion. That's the only motion we got right now, just to rescind the K calendar.
So,
Let's go by the show of hands. All in favor, raise your right hand.
okay,
1, 2, 3,
hold on
4.
a second. Let me get we got to record the votes. I got Ms. Fields, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Locklear, Ms. Monroe.
Mr. Henry,
Mr.
how
Brett.
are you voting? Ms. Melissa, how are you voting?
Chairman, I'm going to have to vote like I intended to stay within guidelines of the requirements. And our previous calendar met that, even though we done testing there in January.
So is that a nay?
That's a nay for me.
All right.
Okay.
Miss Melissa, how do you vote?
As far as the calendar presented, it's a nay for me.
No,
that was a nay.
This is for the KA, so it's
The rescinding the calendar is a nay.
yes. All right. So we got the yeas. Go by the show of hands of the nays.
Okay. Okay, we got Dr. Emanuel, Mr. Lowry, Mr. Simmons, Mr. Leach.
Right.
So that motion
It's a tie.
fails.
It's gonna be a tie.
So the motion to rescind fails, 5-6.
Yeah, with 5-5, then
Oops. No, 6.
6. Yeah, but
Yeah.
just said no. He said he didn't think the chairman voted, but I said it was a 5. It was a 5-5 on it.
You voted, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So it failed 5-6.
Now on the high school calendar, do we got any motions out there for the high school calendar 2025, 2026? All right. Sorry, Mr. Terry.
I make a motion that we approve the high school calendar as presented.
As presented, this current calendar that we're looking at?
This one right here.
Yes, I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. All right. All right. Dr. Emmanuel?
Need a second. Need a second first.
Yes, do we got a second? All right, there's been a motion on the table by Mr. Terry, a second being made Mr. Christopher Monroe. You got something, Dr. Emmanuel? Okay. So we got Dr. Emmanuel want to make a substitute motion, then we're gonna have a discussion.
I'll make a substitute motion that we approve the original calendar presented by Mr. Bobby and the cabinet. Based on that would follow the law that the semesters would be equal. So I make that substitute motion.
Do we have a second? All right, Dr. Emmanuel have made a substitute motion that we do the original calendar that presented by Mr. Bobby in the cabinet. We have a second by Mr. Craig Lowry. Now we're going to have a discussion by Mr. Trey Britt. And when we vote, we will vote on the secondary motion.
Dr. Mellon, what you just said, that calendar's not in front of me, so there it is again. It's not in front of me. But now I will say this was my original discussion. I hope this is different next year, and I hope it's more thought out and planned, and the local school board is involved in the school calendar. I think this is a lesson for everybody here tonight. I'm being honest. Now, what are we going to do?
All right. Mr. Terry?
Mr. Trey, the only way that we can avoid these long, drawn-out conversations and all of this stuff is to have real ongoing subcommittees. That's the purpose of subcommittees. We've got to get them going. So my question, Mr. Schwartz, either of the calendars, the one that I presented or the one that Mr. Bobby presented, is either of those illegal right now?
No.
I don't know where in the world that came from, but yeah, anyway.
So there was a motion on the table. There's a question by Mr. John Simmons.
My question is we're gonna change the time. Cumberland County starts at 8:30 and get out at 3:45, 3:30, I'm sorry. So this calendar here, we're gonna follow the calendar and the time.
Well, we're gonna have to vote on it first. I mean, we're gonna have to vote on it.
That
then
needs
we'll
to
see.
be in there, be known.
All right, Mrs. Trey Britt.
And here's another thing. Last time we met, when we had that meeting, we made a motion that was approved to have exams before Christmas. There's got to be something done to that too.
All right, that's it, Mr. Terry, you got something?
Well, one of the things that's caused mass confusion among this group is there's two ways that you can adopt a calendar. It's either by hours or by instructional days. If I'm looking at the law correctly, Mr. Schwartz, there's a big OR in that calendar law. It's the number of days or hours within certain parameters.
That's correct. And this calendar meets the instructional hours.
The entire time that we've had this conversation, hours and days have been convoluted. And hours and days and that whole thing has been convoluted and used at selective times, even with the term legal. There's been certain things used at certain times to create confusion among this group. So next year, we've got to get together in subcommittees and discuss these items before they're brought.
All right, Ms. Melissa Ocean, then we're gonna bring it to a vote.
Okay, and this will be my last comment.
You can't.
As far as things being, I understand the concept. I don't like it. So I don't like the change that's going to cause for our staff or the disruption it's going to cause for our students. So my view is not convoluted. I understand the difference between hours and days. I just don't like the schedule. I don't like the calendar proposal.
All right. Now we feel to bring it to a vote. Now, motion's been on the table and a secondary motion been on the table by Dr. Linda Emanuel that we go with the original calendar that Mr. Bobby and the cabinet has presented, has been seconded by Mr. Craig Lowry. All right. Yes, no, I know, but okay, well, we have to go back. We have to go back. Hold on. You have to go back on the test. We have to go back on the test. We can't go back on the test, but
No,
we never approved the calendar.
what was approved at the last meeting was to direct the administration to bring
Yes.
forth a calendar that would have testing before Christmas. And they've done that.
Yes, but there's been a secondary motion on table. There's been a secondary motion on the table that we adopt the first calendar that was original calendar that was presented.
Right. And what was approved at the last meeting, excuse me, was to direct the administration to bring back a calendar that would have testing before Christmas. They've done that and submitted it to you. There was not a motion approved last time to have testing before Christmas. I don't believe so. Let's see.
We got the minutes.
Let me check the minutes here. Well, that was done at the March 17 meeting. We don't have those minutes.
All right, Mr. Henry, before we make the vote, this is the last thing we need to come to a vote. I think we didn't spend three or four board meetings on this. Councils, the whole board meeting, we just need to go to a vote. Mr. Henry.
Mr. Chair, my concern now is the misalignment between the elementary and high school. That's going to create more chaos for parents. Put it to the vote.
All right, well, let's go ahead with the vote. We'll state again. Secondary motion been on the table, Dr. Linda Emanuel, to do the original calendar that was presented by the cabinet. A second been made by Mr. Craig Lowry. So all in favor of doing the original calendar, do it by the say showing hands, say aye.
Okay, let me get the vote recorded. We've got
Aye.
Mr. Britton, got Ms. Ocean, Dr. Emanuel, Mr. Lowry, Simmons. Anybody else? Okay,
That's fine.
that's 5.
All right. I'm gonna go with it.
And Mr. Leach, okay, the nays, we need to record those.
Nays, we got 1, 2, 3, 5.
Okay, Mr. Phillips, Ms. Fields, Mr. Buckler, Mr. Britt, and Ms. Monroe. So that motion passes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's move on to PRC 071, additional teacher supplement by Ms. Erica Seltzer.
Good evening again. In your packet, you will find the detailed information on PRC 071. This will be the third year that the state has supplied that funding to districts. And I included to show you there's a funding formula the state uses to determine the maximum amount that each district, those teachers will receive. And I included that for all the districts. As you can see, there are a few who don't receive any funding at all. And the lowest outside of zero is $915 for Union County, and some districts receive as much as $5,000. For PSRC, the max is $3,335 per teacher. That would also include instructional support personnel, as I've identified in that information. Certified teachers and instructional support had to be in pay status as of April 1st to be eligible for any portion, and it'll be prorated for anyone that didn't begin in August, and it will be paid on June 13th as a separate payment outside of the regular supplement. And like I said, this is all determined by the state, and the state gives us funding for this. It's a PRC 071 additional supplement.
Dr. Emanuel?
I just have a point of clarification. Miss Erica, do youth development specialists fall under that social workers, guidance counselors?
No, ma'am, they're classified employees. This is only for certified employees.
Okay, how about, okay, it says they will not pay preschool. Can preschool use their enterprise monies, their monies to pay?
Preschool uses Title I funds to pay this.
Okay, are there any other persons
They
that
have to
are?
be out at a school. They can't be central office employees.
Okay.
That's the only other caveat.
I'm just trying
Principals
to-
and assistant principals are not eligible.
Yeah, I was trying to think of anyone else that would not be outside the regular scope. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Terry? Then Ms. Kristen Monroe?
I thought guidance counselors were certified.
Guidance counselors are, she said, youth development
Youth
specialists.
developments, Indian Ed works.
Oh,
with Indian
okay.
Ed.
So guidance counselors are included.
Correct.
Yes.
Guidance
Okay, I got
counselors
you.
are, youth development
Gotcha.
specialists are not. Yes, guidance counselors are included.
Yeah.
They have to be considered instructional support personnel to be eligible for those.
Certified,
Licensed.
Right.
yes.
licensed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Ms. Kristen Monroe?
I just had a quick question. So the highest pay is, you said, is 3,330. Now, does everybody get that straight across the board for that? Or is it like different amounts to different people?
So everybody that started in August and works through June will get It may not be that total. What I have to do is take the total number of eligible in June and divide it by the money we have. In the
Okay.
last few years, whatever the maximum was, we've had to reduce it by, say, maybe $100 to ensure that everybody's eligible gets it, because they give us the money based on the number of employees we had in December, not the number we have when we decide to pay it.
Okay.
So no one will get more than that. And then it's prorated. So if somebody started in December, they're going to get a separate amount. If somebody started in any other month, it's prorated by 10% each month that they are later in the year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Craig, Mr. Craig Lyon.
Ms. Erica, I know y'all do a great job in this, but I would say to continue to do this, to remind people this comes from the state. It's not something that comes from the county, because we're going to have people that's not going to receive this money. And then they're going to question, why are you giving it to them and not giving it to us? You know, that's
This-
not our decision.
This was decided on by the General Assembly, and the rules concerning who is eligible were decided by the State Board of Education and sent to us as LEAs.
Okay, thank you.
All right, motion being made by Ms. Crystal Monroe to approve the PRC 071, the additional teacher supplement. A second being made by Ms. Fields, Ms. Christie Fields. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And I will email this information out to all staff
Give
like
Ms.
I have
Ocean.
the previous 2 years.
Ms. Ocean, what was your vote? Unmute yourself.
It was I.
Aye, yeah.
Okay, so that 11.
11-0. 11, it was 11-0. All right, sole source, open up resources by Ms. Erica Setzer. A question, hold on for a second, by Mr. Terry Lockley. I didn't see your hand up, I'm sorry. Mr. Terry?
That's okay. I was going to ask a question about this, open up resources. Is this EL curriculum material?
Yes,
It is?
Dr. Carr can, yes. It's consumables that are a part of the L curriculum.
So based on our current numbers, student decodables for K2, we're going to be short. So ensuring that we have enough for those for the upcoming year. All the other materials are already there, but we were short some decodables. So this is just to buy enough decodables to cover the ones that would not have any decodable text.
So if you vote on this, okay, I got you.
Dr. Emmanuel?
Oh, I didn't,
All right,
that was from the last time.
okay. Ms. Christie Fields?
So this is not material we're using this year. It's for the upcoming year.
It's for the upcoming year. So based on projected numbers, we're going to be short of decodable text. We have everything, teacher materials, the module books, everything, but the decodable books, we're going to be short if we don't place the order for those K2 students to have enough decodables.
And what is this material going to do?
This is what they use in their reading centers when we look at actually teaching the phonics and phonemic awareness. It's just the student books that they use for that. So it's 10 sets per classroom.
Mr. Trade, then Mr. John, I'm sorry.
Dr. Williamson knows my feelings on this EL curriculum, so I'm just being honest, and you know what my vote's going to be.
Mr. John? Mr. Simmons?
Make a motion to approve.
Do we got a second? A motion's been made to approve the sole source, open up resources by Mr. John Simmons. The second bid made by Mr. Craig Lowry. All in favor, say aye.
Can we get a clarification? The recommendation sheet says this is for approval of the sole source vendor for the 24-25 school year. Should that be 25-26?
Well, we're placing the order now, and we could receive the materials now. They will
Okay.
just be, and they'll be paid for in this calendar year. They'll just be used for the next year because you can't guarantee delivery.
So it should be for the 24-25 fiscal year.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I want to clarify. So we have 1 year left on our contract. So we're simply adding material for the year that's left on our contract. I did want to clarify that.
All right, a motion has been on the table to accept the sole source open up resource by Mr. John Simmons. The second been made by Mr. Craig Lyer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. we got the red, all opposed? Let's go by hand raised. All in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand. All in favor, say aye. To vote this, the sole source, open up resources so we can order more materials. All in favor, say aye.
Hands. Can we show?
Hands by the short.
Aye.
Okay, we got Mr. Brewer. How about Ms. Ocean?
Ms. Ocean, how do you vote? Unmute yourself.
Yeah, this thing is working crazy. As long as it's just a re-up on resources, I vote aye.
All right.
Okay, and the others were, okay, we got Mr. Brewer, Ms. Ocean, Dr. Emmanuel, Mr. Lowry, Mr. Simmons, Mr. Leach.
All opposed? That's it. Go ahead, show of raise of hand. Ms. Christie Fields.
Okay, Ms. Fields,
Mr.
Mr.
Terry,
Phillips.
Mr. Phillips, Ms. Terry, Ms. Crystal Monroe, and Mr. Trey Britt.
Okay, so it passes 6-5.
Yes. All right. Budget amendments, 24, 25, Ms. Erica Setzer.
I presented budget amendments for state funds that have been received since the last board meeting, and I can answer any questions anyone has about that.
Dr. Emmanuel.
This, if it's not appropriate, ask, tell me, have you received any cuts or any innuendos about any kind of federal cuts from the, what's been cut out from the federal government?
For next year?
Well, now or anytime, other than what we got the other day.
Other than that, we haven't received any clear indication of any cuts.
Well, the
no,
reason
ma'am.
I'm asking, I just heard where they were going to cut grants, existing grants, and I was wondering, a lot of times when our people write grants and this and that, the other, they were cutting out some of those. And I was just wondering if you had heard anybody say that they received anything about the grant being cut or anything like that.
There were some other districts that had, I don't know if they were federal.
Yeah.
For like juvenile justice and some other
Yeah.
things, but we have not received any notification of any of our grants at this point. Now, I'm not saying that couldn't change between now and their new fiscal calendar will be October 1, but so far, all of our communication with DPIs, we're moving as we would normally in preparation for the next school year.
Thank you.
Miss, you got a question? Anybody else? Do we got a motion to approve the amendments? Do we got a motion? We have it. A motion being made by Mr. John Simmons, second being made by Dr. Linda Manuel. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Can we check?
How you vote, Henry and Melissa?
Aye.
Unmute yourself. She raising her hand, so that means aye, but I don't know.
Okay. We need a voice vote from Ms. Ocean.
Say 10-0.
Ms. Ocean, can you unmute yourself?
Let's go 10-0. We need to change it. We'll change it. Now, monthly financial report, it was 10-0. That vote was 10-0, the budget amendments. Monthly financial report by Ms. Erica Setzer.
And I've also included the financial report in your packet. If you have any questions, I can answer those at this time.
A motion been made to approve the monthly financial report, Mr. John Simmons. The second been made, Mr. Trey Britt. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Ms. Melissa? That vote is again is a 10-0.
Thank you.
Who's gonna do it now? Trey? Trey?
I move that the Board of Education for the Public Schools of Robeson County go into closed session for the purposes of discussing certified and classified personnel, North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6, and to consult with attorney retained by the board in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the Board of Education for the Public Schools of Robeson County, North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 3, and to discuss the pending litigation with the board's attorney and Chloe Oxendine versus the Board of Education for the Public Schools of Robeson County, 23 CVS 3094, and to consider student matters that are confidential to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 115C-402 and 20 U.S. Code 1232G.
A motion been made by Mr. Trey Britt to go into closed session. We got a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
The second by Mr. Simmons. Hold on, we got a discussion by Mr. Henry.
if there's a addendum coming out to the personnel, ask Mr. Jamal if he can send me that.
He said he sent it already, Mr. Henry.
Okay, then. Thank you.
All right. So, a motion be on the table by Mr. Trey Britt going to closed session. The second been made by John Simmons. All in favor, say aye. Closed session.
Aye.
John Simmons. We had a second by Ms. Crystal Monroe. All in favor, say aye. All right. That's
9-0.
9-0. That's 9-0. A motion to accept closed session minutes. We got a motion being made by Ms. John Simmons to accept closed session minutes. A second being made by Ms. Crystal Monroe. All in favor, say aye. Let's get another 9-0. All right. Motion to accept classified and certified employees as presented. A motion being made by Ms. Crystal Monroe. A second being made by Mr. Bradley Phillips. All in favor, say aye. Got anything else?
Nope.
All right, we got an announcement before we go by Ms. Wendy Darcy Carr.
I just want to invite everybody to Special Olympics tomorrow at UNCP football field, starting at 9 o'clock.
All right. UNC Special Olympics at UNCP football field tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. All right, do we got a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn, Mr. Trey Britt. Do we got a second? A second by Mr. Craig Lowry. All in favor, say aye.